record, and then so later on this evening, look into your announcements. So let me now share my screen. Okay, now if you have, let's see who's here, because I have to make an announcement regarding attendance. In the past, attendance used to be like if you did work by like Saturday, it wasn't directly connected to if you showed up to your Zoom session. But they just announced this morning to all staff that attendance now is due to Zoom session. So if you miss the Zoom session, and if you miss the Zoom session, I'm probably going to give you an email or a call because I need to post attendance by tomorrow morning. So and I'm recording this so I could see who's here. Okay, so as of 6:01 p.m., these are the people here. And then I'll check again near the middle and near the end to see if there's anybody extra. So currently right now, there should be 9 people. And I count on my list, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And I'm 9, the 9th person. So, oh, there's another person who came in. So why does it look like? Well, I'll check. Well, we'll do a roll call during the middle to the end. So this is MED210 Anatomy and Physiology. I am your host, Dr. Nelson Garais. And if you, does everyone see my screen? You could just type yes on the chat, and you could hear from me. Thank you, Ms. Brown, for checking in. Okay. All right, goody goody. Everyone hears me. And if you can't, please unmute yourself and then state on the chat. Thank you, Ms. Muna. Happy New Year. Yes, happy. Good start. So this is MED. Please kindly mute. Thank you. All right. So this is MED 210, and everything you find regarding this class is in announcements. So here, this is your typical course shell page, and there's announcements here. Of course, this is your ID, and try to check your announcements daily, because another thing that I put on here is sometimes updates about nursing. Sometimes also we're looking for volunteers. We're also, sometimes I put jobs up there, and I put all these things that's pertinent to the school. So inside here is my contact information, which is right here. And utilize my cell phone and my email, but text me if it's if it's not an emergency. But if it's an emergency, like, hey, I'm in the hospital, I only have 2 seconds, to tell you, just leave a message. Make sure you put your full name and which class you're talking about. I even got some messages today. Let me read one here, right on my phone. And he goes, oh, what lesson am I supposed to do? I don't know who you are, number one, and I don't know what lesson you are referring to. So always put your full name and what class are you referring to, and then so I can look it up, all right? Instead of playing detective, I'm trying to figure out like who this person on my phone is. Almost every other call or text I get, I have to ask, who is this? But I try to get out everything within 24 hours, but if you don't hear from me back within 12 to 24 hours, give me another call, shoot me another email, because sometimes, electronics is very funny, and we gotta stay in good constant communication. And please, if you're going to be absent or not be present for this particular Zoom session, which meets lectures meet Wednesday evening at 6 p.m. at this Zoom session. But in weeks 8, 9, and 10, which is the last 3 weeks of the term, we will be meeting on campus. Now, if you can't make those dates, and I'll put those dates here in announcements, and just tentatively, right off the bat, those dates are March 3rd, March 10, and March 17, of course, Wednesday. All of it is at 6 p.m., 4th floor, Health Lab 1. And that's for the 2 laboratories, because we're going to be doing some cutting up, and also it will be for the last session is reserved either for a makeup laboratory or what do you call that? Your final exam. Okay. So we'll talk more about that as the weeks get closer. And the reason why I put it all the way at the end of the course is because if our lovely governor changes his mind again about COVID, like he did last term, we may have to go full online. But they tell me right now that's not the case, but I put all the dates in the end. And also I put them way far back so that you guys have time to look at your schedule. Now, here's another public service announcement. If you don't feel safe health-wise, maybe you have high-risk family members, or you're already in a high-risk job, which most of you are, who work in the medical field are. You don't want to expose yourself even more. Do know and understand that I can give you an alternative assignment, or we could postpone your laboratories for another time. I did a lot of that last term. And if I postpone your laboratories, I have to give you an alternative assignment so I can give you a grade. And another thing is that to assure you, for those of you who are coming in, we scrub in. We don't, it's by appointment. And so not the whole entire class will be all coming at once. It will be RSVP and by appointment so that we can minimize the amount of people. And also, if you have scrubs or a lab coat, kindly wear one. But we also have some we can give to you or let you lend to you on that particular evening. All right, so that'll all be an announcement, but I just wanted you to get like a little introduction of it before we go. Now, for those of you taking this course, this is Anatomy and Physiology. So just like Anatomy and Physiology 1, you got to know the anatomy, tomy, the cut into parts, ana is parts. Physiology is the study of how these parts work. So even before we look at our course syllabus, everything that we're going to be talking about are the parts of the human body and how they work. And we're looking at it in a normal perspective. Now, it's easy to pick up pathology, or abnormal is all you have to do is think about what's normal and how do you mess up normal. And let's see if this, what do you call that? Our syllabus is cooperating with us. If not, I'll just do it by memory. Come on, come on, come on. Hello, is it working? Let's try it again. Because, there you go. Okay. Look at the syllabus. The syllabus is the rules and regulations of what's going to go down. And of course, this particular course meets at Wednesdays, 6 p.m. Now, when I do my Zoom sessions, I try not to go more than an hour and 15 minutes because it's a YouTube recording. And if there's anything I miss, I make more videos. And also, if there's something that you miss as well, or you want to, you want to talk about it more, I have a question and answer session after this recorded session. And also, I'll try to answer your questions on the fly as we're going. We learn, we're going to start off with the immune system, your body defenses, and that is apropos to what's going on right now. There's a reason why you wear the mask, and it's not to protect you against the virus. That's what they say to the public, to make them wear the freaking mask. But because it's much more involved than that. And we're going to talk about how your immune defenses work. Because if your immune defense doesn't work, and we already learned that from Anatomy and Physiology 1, you become a susceptible host. You become a susceptible host, then you get sick, right? Body structure, movement, and stability. That means we're going to be talking about bones. We're also going to be talking about muscles. So you're going to need your medical terminology powers to be able to name all those bones, name all those muscles. What else? We're going to talk about the two major communication systems, which is your central nervous system, which is your brain, spinal cord, and all the associated nerves. And we're also going to be talking about the endocrine system. Connected to that is the special senses, right? Hearing, vision, and all that. Okay, and last but not least, reproductive system with a focus on female reproduction and the menstrual cycle, because that's a high valued topic for you future nurses, especially if you're going to review for, eventually review for your NCLEX. The delivery mode, as stated earlier, is hybrid. We're going to be doing the majority of our lectures online with those 2 laboratories and one and with the last 3 weeks essentially on campus. The assignments, though, it's easy to figure out the grading. It's 10% every week. So if you have a midterm, which will be on the week 5, so that's 10%. If you have a final, which will be on week 10, that's 10%. Discussions, tasks, and lessons, there's 1 of each every week. So you put them all together, every week is 10%. So it is in your best bet to be diligent and do all your work in a steady pace instead of trying to do all your stuff all at once, like, on a Tuesday evening or a Wednesday afternoon. Make time to do things on a regular basis and not just try to just do everything at once. I had another student in my other class. She sent in 3 discussions all at once, and all of it not to par. It's better to do discussion 1 during the week that it's due, task 1 during the weeks that it's due, the lesson or the case study the week that it's due. Just a little side note, right? This B minus 2.67, anywhere from 80 to 83%. That is a B minus. That is the minimal standard for the School of Nursing. And then the minimal standard for the university and the rest of health science is 73 to 77, which is C or 2.0. Do not let your grades dip below this, because then the university is getting really strict on grades. In the past, if you had bad grades, they're like, oh, they keep on giving you second chances. But this term and last term, we've been dismissing people who cannot maintain their grade point average above a 2. And there's also a good handful of nurses that they pass their T's, they pass everything, but they're being dismissed because their GPA is under a 3. And you even see B minus, that's 2.67. That's already, it's acceptable. But again, when you think about it, do you want to only know 80%? Nah, you want to know all of it. So please, every week, do work every week, because the late policy as it stands is, if you're late on an assignment, you got like what, 3-4 days to get it in, because every day that it's late, I chop off 10%. So by the time the 4th day that's late, you're down to like 60%. But my thing is, it's better late than not at all. A 60 is better than a 0, but don't make it a regular thing. All right. So make time during the week to do the assignments. And you can see here, it's all outlined here in your syllabus. And we're going to go, and it's also mirrored in your Moodle course shell. So let's go through some other items. Take advantage of our library. I could show you where that is when we talk about discussions. Inclement weather policy. Try to hook up with this stuff called Rave Alerts, RAVE. It's on our Stratford website. It's where the university can text you on whether the university is closed or not. And the only dates that you should be concerned with is the March 3rd, March 10th, and March 17th dates regarding closures, because those are the dates we're on campus. All the other dates, we should be good to go, because it's on Moodle or on Zoom. If you have any issues or questions regarding any of these policies, please go to our official catalog. But right off the bat, I'm just going to outline the attendance policy. The attendance policy is, if you're absent more than 3 consecutive times, or 3 consecutive Zoom sessions, or just 3 consecutive dates for whatever reason, they drop you from the course. Okay, that's not good. So please stay in communication with me. If you're going to be out, or something's going on in your life, it takes you 2 seconds to keep me informed, because if not, they drop you, and that's bad news on both your financial aid and your academics. And like I stated, like there's a whole bunch of people not making it into their nursing program because of personal reasons, of stuff going on. And when you think really about it, we're in medical. None of us have any real excuse. I had a student who was I had a student who was, she posted her final exam on the day they were inducing her pregnancy. I even gave her time. She said, nope, I'm going to do it on time. And that person is one of our, she's one of our latest graduates from our nursing program, right? Not my best student, but one of my most diligent students. And that's what we all have to be. I know that we all have a lot going on in our lives, but please, you spent a lot of money to get this education, and show up for it, because watching the video is one thing, but here having to answer me live, right? It's a little bit better. Honor code. Now, our exams, the midterm and final, are 50 choice, multiple choice examinations, and they're done. They're like, they're like a take-home test. I put it online. But if you want to somehow cheat, and it's too easy to cheat online, let's all be honest. But I can tell you right now, if I catch you, okay, fine, I catch you. You might get a 0 for an assignment. You might even get a 0 for the course. But if someone else catches you, you'll be dismissed from the program, because we can't have people, we can't have cheaters. We can't graduate cheaters, because that's a real problem in the medical world. So, and this also includes plagiarism, and we're going to be talking about that when we talk about discussions, okay? And it also falls under academic misconduct. So please, I once had a professor tell me, if you're going to fail, fail with dignity. It's one of my saving graces that I didn't have the best grades in medical school, but I can tell you right now, within the 5 years I was in medical school, I never cheated. I can't say the same for my classmates, but I never cheated, even though how many times they're about to kick me out. I'm like, nope, if I'm gonna get kicked out, I'm gonna get kicked out legit. But I hung in there, and that's why you hang in there. And if you're having trouble with your grades, please give a call to me, your professor, or if I'm your academic advisor, or if whoever your academic advisor is, call early. If you're having trouble, get tutoring. We have a new tutoring.com program that's being rolled out as I speak with student services. If you want to avail of that, shoot me an email, shoot me a text, and I could get you the information regarding that as well. But if you need tutoring for this particular class, yeah, give me a call. We'll figure something out on a one-on-one Zoom session, or even like 3-on-1 or 2-on-1, or little small groups if you guys like. Okay. Oh, so that's our syllabus. And I'm going to pause for a little bit because I've been yapping. And I see that, oh, Mr. Barima, how you doing? Let me add you to the list. Add a couple.
I'm doing well, Dr. Garais.
How you doing, sir? I got you. I'm looking at attendance. Goody. Okay, good. I think there are 12 of you, so that means there's 11. I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 11, good. Alrighty, so for those of you who haven't had me before, or didn't have Anatomy Physiology 1, but if you did have Anatomy Physiology 1, looks real familiar, isn't it? So if you look at it, every week is what? 3 things: a task, a discussion, and a lesson. And week 1, or topic 1, or these 3 things, is due next week. So today is, what's today? The 6th. So by the 13th, next week, before 6 p.m., task 1, discussion 1, and lesson 1 is due. So what do you need to do? Let's look at task 1. Task 1, just lab contract. That's easy. If you don't know where the lab contract is, let me show you. You print it out and then sign it and then take a picture of it or scan it. And I believe the lab contracts are in, I think if I go in here, you start course, and then it says important documents at the bottom, and lab guide and safety. Is this it? Here it is. And it's in lab contract. Okay. So to review, it's in important documents under lab contract inside this course introduction, and you hit on start. That's where it is if you're looking for it. And so please do that, easy peasy, do that tonight after class, because when we have laboratories, you're exposed to stuff. There's some chemicals and also the very fact that, you got scalpels in your hand. That's a safety issue. So of course we need that signed. Now, discussion one. Oh, Ms. Haskins, good to go. You already answered. So, discussion one, the CDC has issued an alert to travel areas of Zika, and that was years ago, but it's the same thing. Based on how this particular virus spread, what body defenses, if any, are there? What can people do to decrease the chance of contacting Zika? So, let's do this. Let me pretend to be you. And for those of you who had me before, this is a nice review. Any paper you do or anything, any communication that you have has to have some introduction, some body, right? Or the main body, the main part of it, and some conclusion. So our introduction, it'll have some definitions. It'll have your opinion of what you believe is the answer to the question, rationale, or the why you believe that's your answer, right? And you're stating your starting point. So you believe like, hey, I don't believe it's spreading, right? I don't believe it's important. And I think, but you were asking a question, are there any body defenses? So when I look at this, don't you think I have to answer that? Because a virus is tiny. And remember I mentioned the mask? A virus can go through a cell. So how the hell is that going to stop them? How the heck is that, 99-cent store mask that you're wearing, right? Going to stop a virus, right? So didn't you guys ever wonder that? Like why they keep on telling us to wear your mask, you're saving lives. Are you really? Right? When you come to think about it, you are, but not for the reasons what you think you are. Right? So what body defenses do we have against the virus? Let's look what else they asked. What can people do to decrease the chance? Right? How can you decrease the chance of getting it? So and the example they use is Ecovirus. I know it's a little bit dated, but it's the same idea. Virus is a virus, and it can be, and it's definitely applicable to coronaviridae, which is COVID, right? And COVID is actually just SARS-2. It's just a variant. That's why I find it very funny when people like, oh, there's a new variant. Of course there is. It's a virus. There's a whole bunch of, don't you know that, what do you call that? HIV is not the same HIV that we were introduced to in the 80s. It's very different than it is now. But no one ever talks about that, do they? Because people with HIV, not important anymore, are they? Right? Because of other things. Now, body is, that's where you're going to put the evidence. Because you saying what the defenses are, you saying on how to decrease, in your opinion, on how to decrease the Zika virus, it's all well and good, but do you have somebody who's an expert, like maybe a website that's a .gov, another website that's a .edu, it could be a medical school or a nursing school, or it could be a .org, a medical organization. So that's the kind of, and is it current? Is it from like the last couple of years? Because this is what I always say in the other classes. Like, do you guys remember a cell phone from 5 years ago? It's archaic, it's ancient, right? But even the one from last year, um, uh, just look at phones. So try to pick something from like 2018 to present, but the more current is better. So you're trying to find some evidence, right, on what you're saying up here is true. And then the conclusion, let's say, for example, I initially thought that, body defenses aren't that important. That was my opinion. Or we should be focusing on COVID right now instead of Zika, right? But your conclusion could be what? There's something different. And your conclusion is just wrapping all of this up. So when you look at that, you could see how 200 to 250 words is, hold up. Hold up, there's an emergency on campus. Okay, good. Apparently there's, I don't know, protests or something, who knows. All right, introduction. So we have the introduction, you have your body and conclusion. Now, when you guys are doing term papers for other classes, don't you think that's the same thing? It's the same exact thing, right? So when you're, that's why when I ask, it goes, is your reply organized? And if you do your replies like this all the time, right? So now don't focus on answering somebody. Focus on trying to get this protocol down for all your discussions. And then once we get more comfortable, maybe a week 3, week 4, let's start answering people. But then let me show you around week 3, week 4, how to answer people, because that's another thing in my other classes. I always get these replies, and you guys know, I call it mutual adoration society, where, hey, Judith, I really think that's a great reply. I learned a lot, thanks. And that's your reply, and you get credit for that. Well, by the way, in academia, that's garbage, right? A good reply should be what? Hey, Judith, I believe in your opinion. I also agree with your rationale. And here's some evidence that I found from a .gov, .edu, or .org that backs you up. In conclusion, I think what you wrote was dead on perfect. Or, hey, Judith, I think your opinion is not correct because I found evidence from a .gov, .edu, .org that refutes your premise, refutes your opinion, and refutes your rationale. Sorry, but I'm not buying your, I'm not buying your submission. I mean, there's a nicer way to say it, but you know what I'm saying. But do you see how this is applicable to you in the real world? Here's an example why I always get a raise, because around September, October, into late October, everyone starts talking about budget. So that's when I define the budget. My opinion is I should get this amount raise, and here's my rationale, and here's the biggest thing. Here's the body of evidence, and in conclusion, I believe Dr. Esadebe should award me for 4 to 5% for next year's raises, right? Now, am I going to get the 4 to 5%? No, but I'm going to get something, right? When others don't even bother to get anything, right? So, which by the way, always works. Well, at least in my case, but you could see how it works. I'm not only giving your opinion, I'm not only giving a rationale, I am giving evidence on why what I'm saying is correct and why my answers are correct. And that's what's missing today, right? Look at any news, look at any news facility. You know what? I don't even watch Comedy Central anymore. Just watch CNN or Fox News or whatever news is on TV. It's a riot. It's just a bevy of lies and half truths. It's amazing, right? So that's part and parcel of our training here. Not so that you guys can go out and find your own data, and don't take everything that someone giving you. Like right now, they're telling everybody, hey, there's a vaccine. Please, those of you, stop calling Inova. My poor wife and her team are picking up thousands of calls a day regarding they want to get a vaccine, a non-existent vaccine, and also trying to get swabbed for no reason. You have to have a reason, and there has to be a medical order for you to have a test. But most laypersons don't know or understand that. They just see people getting swabbed on the news and think, I'm going to get swabbed, as if, it'll protect them from something. I don't know. But again, laypersons versus medical professionals. Last but not least, lesson 1, which is due next week. If you go all the way at the bottom, right? I'm sorry if I went a little fast. I clicked on lesson 1. If you go all the way to the bottom, you'll see here, there's a case study. You click on that case study, then click download the case, and then you just read through it and then answer the questions. And where are the questions at? There's these nice little questions in the middle, but the ones that you need to answer is final set of case questions, numbers 1 through 7. You put it in a Microsoft Word document. You make sure your name and the date is on the document and on the document, what's the hoses? On the document, the file, then we're good to go. And then you could submit it, and there should be a button for submissions. Oh, good on you. Somebody submitted. All right, cool. All right, I'll check that and get back to that person. Now, it's best for you guys to do your work don't do it at the last minute, because then I don't have time to give you feedback. And that's the best thing. So look at your feedbacks on the discussion, because I'm trying to build this up, your skill sets up. So when you start going to your 200 level humanities class, or when you start doing papers and start doing other things, it'll be organized, and you'll have at least somebody, you know, critiquing you and you know, fixing your writing, because professional writing is a skill set, and it's a desired skill set. So I'm going to pause for a second. Does anyone have any questions regarding what's due next week? Task 1, discussion 1, lesson 1. If not, you could wait till later, or in our question and answer section at the end of our lecture proper. So let's jump right into the lecture. Let's see what's going on. So we're going to be talking about the first line of defense, which is our integumentary system. The integumentary system is, of course, the skin and all its associated items. And it protects us against, that's why those of you who are in my Anatomy and Physiology 1 class, you guys know I have no real love for the Department of Surgery, because surgery loves to do what? They cut into you, right? And they're like, oh, we're good. Well, if I cut into this defense, this line of defense, your skin, it opens your skin up to the 250 some odd things that are floating around in the air. And also, by the way, a lot of that bacteria is on your skin. Your skin is teeming with Staphylococcus aureus, Staphylococcus epidermidis. It has these little things called dermatophytes. There's these nasty little buggies on your skin. And if I open you up, all of these things will go now inside, which is not a good thing. So that's why we have a very good first line of defense, and that is our skin. Now, we also have a part which are called accessory organs or accessory devices, like tears, mucus, cilia, stomach acid, and other barriers inside our bodies, right? But the skin, that is the first one. Also, the function of skin, we're going to talk about water loss, which is dehydration is a very, very serious thing. And actually, I'm dehydrated right now. I'm going to take a little swig of water here. You just have to trust it's water. It's water, right? Now, if it's a Friday class, I'm not quite sure if it's water, but it's Wednesday, it's still good. Just kidding. The resources and water loss and heat loss, okay? So that's really important, because now you're gonna look at skin as a living, breathing thing. It's not just a covering. It's something way more complex than that. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention.
No,
Whoa,
Molly.
Oh, I guess Molly got away. For those of you who got kids, I feel you. I got 6 of them, right? And that's why I'm locked up here in my basement, making sure the rugrats don't get at me. So I feel for you guys. Hang in there. Let us look at, oh, here. Here's your textbook. It is OpenStax. And OpenStax, you open it up, you click on that, and then you click on this table of contents, and you can find a whole bunch of stuff. And this is really neat, because OpenStax are a bunch of free textbooks. And cellular level, tissue level, integumentary system. So let's go into here, the integumentary system. And also, there's these fine videos. I'm going to show you them in a minute, but I promised myself to use the textbook a little more, because, hey, it's there. So the first thing I already mentioned was in the integumentary system is that um, that there's layers. Let me see if I can make this bigger. There you go. Here are some layers. You got your epidermis, you have your dermis, and you have your hypodermis. Now, your hypodermis is also called your subcutaneous tissue. Sub meaning under, cutaneous meaning skin. Well, those of you who have animals, they're just like children. And I mean that in a very loving way, not as an insult to your animals. Just kidding. More dad jokes. Epidermis, dermis, and hypodermis. And the hypodermis is also known as the subcutaneous tissue. Now, you see all of this stuff in here? It's really important. We're going to talk about all of that. Now, right off the bat, don't you think this would be a beautiful, since this is an anatomy class, isn't this a beautiful parts question? Can I take this picture, erase all these words and go A, B, C, D, E, F, G? Can I ask you what layers what? And what's the function of each? Yeah, easily, right? So start looking at, when I start talking about a diagram, start paying attention, because you're like, you can put that on an exam, hint, hint. So the epidermis, it's kind of like a tough layer on the top here. And we're going to break this layer down even more so. And there's also, in the videos, they break this layers down even more so. Now, here's the dermis. Now, within the dermis, you see the eccrine sweat gland, because remember, part of the function of your skin is, thermoregulation, which is hot and cold. So, and also same thing, your hair is a part of your dermis as well. Now, you see here, all these little yellow things, these yellow wires, those are nerves. And this is your Pacinian corpuscle, which is also a nerve, and this is a nerve ending. And there's nerve endings here that are connected to this muscle right here. There's arteries and veins. Arteries are colored red and veins are colored blue. They're not colored like that in real life, but, and also fat doesn't look this yellow. It looks like milky white yellow in real life. But these are called conventions in anatomy and physiology, so that we know that this thing I'm pointing at is an artery, this thing I'm pointing at is a vein. So when me and my sister were kids, we were latchkey kids, so we grew up kind of weird and alone, because my parents worked 7 days a week, and I grew up in a not so happy place called the Bronx, New York City. It's much nicer now, but back in the 70s, it was, you're on your own. Now, this game that me and my sister used to play, we used to take needles and put it in our skin. Did any of you ever do that? Well, you don't have to answer me, because I know you probably didn't do it. But, if you put it on this top epidermal layer, do you think you'll bleed? No, because only in the dermis layer are there arteries and veins and nerves. And also, you can also stick a pin through here, and it shouldn't hurt. But part of the game that me and my sister played was see who can try to go deeper. And if you get bleeding, or if you feel pain like this, and these part of these nerves right here, then you lose the game, right? Yes, I know. Me and my sister we were not quite normal. Now, you can see the hair as well. It's connected to a erector pili. Do you notice when you're scared or when you're cold, this hair stands up, right? To decrease the wind resistance, so you won't feel that cold, right? Or if you're scared, and that's your erector pili muscle that's connected to your hair. And you could see your hair follicle is connected to a whole bunch of nerves. That's why it hurts when I pull out your hair, okay? And at the level of the hypodermis, or the subcutaneous level, that has a lot of fat, and it has the deeper arteries and veins, okay? And as the deeper you go, the bigger it gets, okay? So you could see right off the bat, there's a lot of defenses. There's a lot of things that get in the way. And you could see if I get cut, don't you think all that bacteria, all the Staphylococcus aureus that's in here can get in here? And then I could have sepsis. And we have a big problem, don't we? Oh, I forgot to mention, your sebaceous gland right here, which is associated with your hair. Have you ever heard that thing where, you know, you should, what do you call that? Uh, you should brush your hair like 100 times a night so it'll make your hair smooth and supple. In theory, you know, if you keep on rubbing against this, it's going to create more oil, right? Yet another game I used to play when I was a kid. I used to put my head on down on like you know, your notebook paper, and then if you put your head down long enough, you know, you'll start seeing some oil on it. And I used to, I don't know why. Again, I was a very odd child. It used to entertain me, but where's that oil coming from? Your sebaceous gland here, right? So if you look at this, I can make it A, B, C, D, E. I could ask you, what's the name of the most superficial, toughest layer? Epidermis. What's the next layer underneath? Dermis. What's the deepest layer? Subcutaneous or hypodermis. Which has the most fat? Hypodermis or subcutaneous. Which has the most arteries and veins and nerves? Hypodermis. Because the deeper you go, the more painful it is. What's this muscle associated with this hair? Erector pili. Because what's this gland? What's this gland? Your sweat gland, right? Right off the bat, I gave you 9 potential questions right off the bat. And you could see how you could practice this. That's the problem with why students aren't so good at exams, because they don't know what's coming. And I'm already telling you what's coming so you can train for it. And sorry for you guys who have had me before, that I'm telling the same stories in every class. I will keep on telling the same stories in every class until students get it drilled in their head. You have to train like a prize fighter. A prize fighter doesn't just hit the bag or jump rope. They have to get in the ring. So one way you can practice getting in the ring is make your own little practice test, make it multiple choice, and then do what? Test yourself. Because can this come out, this picture? Yeah, it can. You have thick skin and thin skin. That's your epidermis. It's stratified, meaning that it's in layers. It's squamous, meaning that it's flat, like a roof. And it has keratin. And that's what makes it tough. By the way, those of you who are spending $100 on that shampoo that has keratin in it, please don't do that. I can pour keratin all over my face. It's not going to make my face stronger. You get keratin through protein. You get it through good diet, okay? So you have thin skin and thick skin. And of course, the thick skin are on the soles of your feet, right? And those have this extra layer called your stratum lucidum, which helps it make it, you know, a little bit more watertight and thicker, okay? So keratin is created by a cell called the keratinocyte. And what's its function? Its function is it's a fibrous protein. It's the reason why your epithelium, your hair, and your nails are hard and also water resistant, okay? Now, the cool thing about your epithelium is, or your upper layers is, it keeps on sloughing off. That's why you get ashy. It's made of, the majority of the skin cells on the upper layers are made of dead skin cells, and they slough away, right? That's why it's always good to have some lotion. Here's your epidermis. The more active, more live or alive skin cells are here on the bottom. The more dead ones, the flaky ones, and this is where the ashiness comes from, it's the dead skin cells. They also have keratin, right? That's why it's good to do what? Moisturize yourself, hydrate yourself, right? Have a nice soft loofah to exfoliate yourself when you're taking a shower, right? So that the newer layers can move up. And remember, only the thick layers have stratum lucidum. You have your stratum granulosum, which has all the granules in it. Spinosum, that has the keratinocytes in it, right? And we already know what that does. It gives the thing keratin. You have your stratum basale. I always remember it at the base or the basal, right? That's important. Merkel cell, that's part of your sensory. Let's know that's a nerve. But what's a more important cell? that we're talking about here. Here's your melanocyte. Melanocytes are what give each of us different pigment. If your genetics are closer to the equator, right, then you're going to be darker in color. You're going to have darker eyes, and your hair is going to be thicker and more kinky because melanocytes produce melanin, and melanin is UV protection, UV radiation. That's why, as a scientist, as a healthcare professional, I find racism very funny because we're all the same human being. It's just different melanocytes. It goes, and I don't get it, you know. But hey, that's why we're thinkers, and all the lunatics outside, you know, waving around flags of this and that and the other thing, don't understand this. If they studied and understand this, they'd understand that color is just simply one. It's a melanocyte, it's a cell, and it's supposed to protect you from UV radiation. That's why if you have darker skin, you're least likely to get skin cancer. But you can if you hang out outside long enough, because the sun always has UV radiation. That almost always comes out. Melanocytes and melanomas and melanin, it comes out. I've seen this on many prep exams, that particular question. Stratum spinosum, Langerhans cells, and nice to know. The other stuff is more important. Stratum lucidum, we already mentioned that. That's the thin layer, and it's only found in thick skin. That's a nice nice trivia there. Now let's look at your dermis, the core or the main part. Okay, that's under the epidermis. Okay, it has a papillary layer. Let's look at that. They call it the papillary layer because you see how it looks like fingers. You even look at the word papilla, it looks like fingers. Okay, and that has all connective tissue, it's stronger, and as we mentioned before, there's all these things in it. They also have in the reticular layer. Now, reticulocytes, these are like growing cells that help push the growing cells up here in the epidermis. And you can see the epidermis, see how like flaky it is? Now, the reticular layer, that's where we have elastic fibers and collagen. Collagen, again, just like keratinocytes and keratin, it provides more structure in the dermis to keep it all together. And elastin fibers to give elasticity to the skin. As you grow older, you get less and less of these, less and less of collagen, less and less of keratin. That's why you got to watch your diet and watch your skin as you get much, much older. And it's a big, big thing for those of you who work as CNAs. You know, you do a lot of feet checking, skin checking, you know, bed sores, because we do a lot of turning of the patients because their skin is not as strong as it was when they were younger. And the hypodermis, also known as the subcutaneous layer that we already talked about. Now, lipid or fat, they're wonderful cushion, wonderful insulation, wonderful energy reserve. But remember, just like everything in the world, right, it should be in the middle. You can't have too little, you can't have too much, okay? And most Americans are usually, based on BMI, are usually labeled class 1 obese, myself included. I am, I think, going well into class 2. I'm getting there, right? I'll admit it. But I'm trying. Pigmentation, we already talked about, keratinocytes, right? The more, the darker you are. The less, the lighter you are. And the lighter skin you have, the more susceptibility you have to UV radiation and skin cancer, like this mole right here. It's a benign, moles are a benign cancer, but they're a cancer nevertheless. Albinism, vitiligo, right? Looks like that. That's why when Michael Jackson said he had vitiligo, that cracked me up, because I'm like, no, you don't. No, you don't. You just want to be freaky. Yeah, he made Thriller, but come on, it's a little weird. Okay, hair we talked about. Let's go. We don't need to go over it. Nails, remember, that is part and parcel of your skin, and it is again what makes it strong, keratin. Okay, we talked about sweat glands. You have, and uh, you also have sudoriferous glands, and they also produce sweat, right? But the eccrine gland is more for thermoregulation, and the sudoriferous glands is, they're both actually, all sweat glands are for thermoregulation, but the sudoriferous glands, just know that sudoriferous glands, eccrine sweat gland, it's all for thermoregulation. Okay, sebaceous, that's for sebum, or oil, and that's for how you get blackheads, right? You know, when your the sebaceous gland gets all clogged up with dirt, and the sebum, right, mixes in with the dirt, and it usually dark brown or black, and then that's why you have those little bumps. Hence the term acne. And when it gets really bad, it's called acne vulgaris, because it's vulgar. No one wants to know about that. Integumentary system, vitamin D. Again, we need some sunlight. Not a lot, but just some. And if you have if your patient, you know, a little bit short on vitamin D, taking the pills are all well and good, but you know what's better? Around 10 a.m. in the morning, have them, you know, go out on the veranda, go out on the patio, have them walk around for 30 minutes. All my kids had vitamin D deficiencies because of COVID, because they pretty much live in their basement, in my basement, you know, doing homework. Everything is online now. So now I force my kids every morning for breakfast. If it's sunny, they have to go outside and eat, even if it's cold. Put on a jacket, go outside. Now we're getting into diseases, which we shouldn't. So I'm going to close this up, right? And then let's look at our objectives to see, did we cover? So what are our objectives, right? Did we talk about thermoregulation? We talked about the integumentary system and its parts. Yep, we did. We talked about its function. Now, let's talk about aging skin and disorders of the skin. We already talked a little bit about aging, but let's watch this video together. And then this part on the diseases and disorders, not too much, because remember, this is anatomy and physiology. This is not a pathology class. So in your pathology class, you'll be delving, for you future nurses, you'll be delving greater into the pathophysiology, how exactly in greater detail. So knowing how your skin and all this stuff works. And these are nice supplementary videos, by the way. They mirror everything that I just talked about as well. So let's watch this video together, and I'm going to pretend, well, I'll write it on my piece of paper and then I'm going to share it with you. I'm going to pretend to be a student, because watching a video, you guys know, it's not like watching, like, I don't know, a blockbuster movie, you know? It's boring. Well, let's admit it, right? So you have to utilize this skill set called active listening. Active listening is your antenna ears are up, and you're going to try to write down what you think that would come out on the exam, or what you think is clinically important. So I'm gonna pretend to be a student, and then I'm gonna play the video, and then I'm going to write down what I think is important, and let's see if it matches to what you thought was important. Okay? You could play along at home.
This video will help you understand why your skin ages, what you can do.
Oh, that was loud. Okay.
To slow down the process, and how to reduce. Help you understand why your skin ages, what you can do to slow down the process, and how to reduce the signs of aging you may already have. One of the primary reasons we age so differently is due to genetic factors. Just as genes from our parents determine our hair and eye color, they also determine how we age. Your genes control several natural processes that cause your skin to age. Let us take a closer look at some of these different factors. Your skin is constantly renewing itself by shedding the old and damaged outer cells of the epidermis and replacing them with newer cells. This process keeps our skin looking fresh and revitalized. The lower layer of skin, or dermis, contains collagen and elastin fibers that also provides the skin with structure, support, and elasticity. Beginning in your mid-20s, the skin cell renewal process slows down, and your skin becomes thinner and more prone to damage from external elements like the sun, harsh weather, and pollution, producing a dull, rough, or uneven texture to the skin. In addition, the collagen and elastin fibers within the dermis begin to break down and diminish. So,
okay, I think that's enough. All right. And this is what I do when I watch videos. Like when I get bored or when it gets to a lull, I stop so I can collect my thoughts. So right off the bat, I'm going to show you what my notes would look like. And then I'm going to show you how it can translate to making test questions. So right off the bat, we talked about aging. Okay, got your skin. I wrote that down. And then I'll make it like in bullet format. Primary reason why you age is genetics, genes, right? And they control hair color. They control what? Hair color, eye color, and skin. Okay. Now, what else did they talk about? Epidermis, we already talked about, sheds old, dead skin cells. We already know that. But what that part of the video is talked about the dermis, which was the main what? Main renewal. That's what I got of it, right? It starts decreasing around your 20s, right? And part of that decrease is decrease in thickness. And the dermis was important because it had collagen and elastin. And age is also determined by external factors like the sun or pollution. Wow, look at that. Can this be a question? Which of the following are controlled by genetics? Because is it your hair, your eye, your skin, all of the above? None. This is epidermis, we already talked about that. Dermis. Which of the following are located in the dermis? Collagen, elastin, both, neither. What happens when you get older? Is there increase in your dermis, decrease of your dermis? Not known. Could I say that it's only genetics? Nope. What also affects aging? Exposure to sun, exposure to pollution. How many questions do that? Anyone was counting? 5, 6. Just from 1 minute of that video. Oh, by the way, every video that you all had, I took it apart this way. When I first taught the class, I spent the whole weekend and I looked at every video and I took it all apart. And then I matched it up to my lecture. And you could see it matches up to my lecture, doesn't it? But now it adds the extra dimension of aging, which is a normal process. And now you also know that in our older patients, this is a problem. Because if their skin isn't too thick, what will happen? They're more prone to 2 major things: dehydration and infection. Okay. Alrighty. Let's look at the lesson. Lesson 1. See if we're missing anything. There's more nice videos. Nice to know. Nice to know. Oh, this is part of our goals are the accessories, right? Mucous membrane, which is the mucus or the sticky stuff in your inside. Cilia, tears. So this is important, and I'm not going to go over this because now I already showed you how to take apart a video, so you need to take this apart. Now, this as well, sebaceous and sweat glands. We already mentioned that. You can take apart this video and then ascertain it for yourself. So, it's at this point I will